2 days before Thanksgiving, my mom sent a text that read, "We're keeping it small this year, only immediate family." An hour later, my sister uploaded a photo of the dining table with 15 place settings. I didn't respond. I just made dinner for myself and powered down my phone. The next morning, I woke up to 22 missed calls and a voicemail from my aunt. At 1:13, she whispered something that made my hands tremble. A text from my mother flashed across my phone, "Keeping it small this year, sweetheart." Those 5 words were a carefully crafted lie, and they set in motion a chain of events that would shatter my entire world, exposing a betrayal I never truly saw coming. My office hummed with the usual afternoon quiet, but an unsettling dread was already coiling in my gut. For months, our family had been walking on eggshells, shattered by secrets and legal battles that had turned us into strangers sharing little more than DNA. Grandma Helen's death had ripped us apart, and a quiet Thanksgiving seemed like the only way to begin healing. I even imagined bringing her sweet potato casserole recipe, handwritten on a yellowed index card, or her cranberry relish. Nobody else could ever get it quite right. But that illusion of peace lasted less than an hour. My phone lit up again, an Instagram notification. It was Chloe, my sister, 2 years younger and always the golden child, posting another one of her carefully curated squares. Usually, I scrolled right past. That day, I wish I had. The photo showed my parents' dining room table, the one that had hosted every major holiday since 1987. But it was extended to its full 12-foot length, 15 place settings sparkling under the chandelier. 15. The afternoon light streaming through the window made it clear, this had been set up hours ago, long before Sarah sent me that text about keeping it small. Chloe's caption read, "Can't wait for tomorrow. So grateful for family. All of it. #blessed, #Thanksgiving, #family time." My coffee went cold in my hand as I zoomed in, counting the plates, the folded napkins, the wine glasses catching the light. There was the china, only brought out for special occasions. The crystal glasses Grandma Helen had brought from Poland in 1952. 15 chairs, some clearly borrowed, all around a table that was anything but small or immediate. The comments were already rolling in, Chloe's friends gushing, distant cousins asking about leftovers. And then I saw it. A comment from Aunt Carol, my father David's sister, "Can't wait. Wouldn't miss it for the world." Aunt Carol. The same Aunt Carol I hadn't seen in 4 years, not since her brutal falling out with Sarah over Grandma Helen's jewelry. The same Aunt Carol my mother had sworn she'd never speak to again. She was apparently coming to our small, immediate family Thanksgiving dinner. I sat my phone face down, trying to go back to work, but nothing registered. My brain just kept circling those 15 place settings, Sarah's text, and the casual cruelty of being deliberately excluded while being told you weren't. By 7 that evening, my decision was made. I wasn't going to call. I wasn't going to text. I wasn't going to demand an explanation, or cry, or beg to understand why my own mother had lied directly to my face. I was just going to stay home. On my way home, I stopped at the grocery store, a turkey breast for one, a small bag of roasted potatoes, fresh green beans, a single slice of pumpkin pie. The checker, an older woman with kind eyes, looked at my purchases and smiled softly. She didn't say a word, but something in her expression told me she understood. Wednesday morning, my phone buzzed with a barrage of texts from Chloe, "Mom wants to know what time you're coming tomorrow." Then, 20 minutes later, "Hello? You're being weird again." Finally, whatever. More food for everyone else. I didn't just silence my phone. I turned it off completely. The black screen felt like a shield, protecting me from the chaos I knew was brewing in the family group chat I'd been suspiciously quiet in for weeks. Thanksgiving Day arrived, cold and gray, the kind of November morning that promises snow but never quite delivers. I put on comfortable clothes, leggings, an oversized sweater, thick socks, and started cooking. My apartment filled with familiar smells, butter and herbs, cinnamon and nutmeg, the savory richness of turkey skin crisping in the oven. I set my table for one. A single plate, a single fork and knife, a single wineglass filled with a Pinot Noir I'd been saving. If this wasn't special, this act of choosing myself over people who would discard me without a second thought, then nothing was. At 2:30 p.m., I sat down. The turkey was perfectly golden. The mashed potatoes creamy and rich. The green beans still had a satisfying snap. I raised my wineglass to the empty chair across from me and whispered, "To new traditions." The meal was delicious. More than that, it was peaceful. No uncle making uncomfortable political comments. No cousin drinking too much. No passive-aggressive remarks about my career, my apartment, my choices, my life. Just me, good food, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing I'd refused to participate in my own diminishment. I spent the evening wrapped in a blanket, catching up on movies I'd meant to watch. Around 8 that night, I remembered my phone was still off. Something made me turn it back on. The screen exploded with notifications, texts, missed calls, voicemails, all time-stamped throughout the day. 22 missed calls, to be exact. Sarah, David, Chloe, cousin Ashley, Aunt Carol, even David's business partner Paul, whom I'd met twice. But it was the voicemail from Aunt Rachel, Sarah's younger sister, the one who'd moved to Nevada 5 years ago and only came back for major events, that made my stomach drop. The timestamp read 1:13 a.m., Thanksgiving night. After everyone had left, after the dishes were done, after whatever had happened, had happened. I pressed play. Static crackled. Then Rachel's voice, barely above a whisper, "I'm in the guest bathroom. I can't talk long. I need you to know what happened tonight. Your mother told everyone you couldn't come because you were sick. Food poisoning," she said. "She showed everyone a text you supposedly sent her. But I saw your Instagram story, the one you posted at noon with your plate. You weren't sick. You were home alone." A pause. Water running in the background. Rachel's voice dropped even lower. "Everything came out at dinner. Chloe got drunk and started bragging about how she'd convinced your mother not to invite you. She said, 'You've been a downer since Grandma Helen died, always bringing up the will and the estate, making everything awkward.' She said it was supposed to be a drama-free holiday, which apparently meant a holiday without you. Your mother didn't defend you. She didn't say a single word. She just sat there and let Chloe talk. Your father left the table." Another pause, a door creaking. Rachel's voice became urgent. "Liam filmed some of it. The whole confession. He was making a TikTok or something stupid, and he caught Chloe saying everything. Your mother saw him filming and tried to make him delete it. But Liam already sent it to himself. I watched him do it. He still has it. Get that video. Then you need to check your grandmother's safety deposit box. The one at First National Bank downtown. Your mother doesn't know you have a key. I'm the one who gave it to Grandma Helen to give to you. There's a letter inside. Read it. Then decide what you want to do." The voicemail ended. My hands were shaking so hard I nearly dropped the phone. I played it again, then a third time. Each word seared itself into my memory. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat at my laptop, digging through every document related to Grandma Helen's estate. She'd been a meticulous record keeper. I'd inherited boxes of her papers. Bank statements, property deeds, investment portfolios, insurance policies. Most had seemed like routine paperwork then, important but not relevant to the family drama. But now, with fresh eyes and Rachel's words echoing, patterns emerged. Transfers made months before Grandma Helen's death. Large sums moving into accounts I didn't recognize. Withdrawals that didn't match her ledgers. Checks made out to C. Bradford, Chloe's married name, in amounts that made my breath catch. Chloe, who'd spent the last year of Grandma Helen's life visiting her 3 times a week, supposedly out of love and duty. Chloe, so grief-stricken at the funeral she could barely speak. Chloe, who'd walked away from the estate settlement with a trust fund and a vintage Mercedes from Grandma Helen's house. Friday morning, I was outside First National Bank at 9. The safety deposit box area, a climate-controlled vault, smelled of old paper and metal. The attendant, a young man named Mark, verified my ID and led me to box 847. Grandma Helen's key slid into the lock like it had been waiting for this exact moment. Inside the narrow metal drawer were 3 items: a manila envelope, a small black jewelry box, and a USB drive. I opened the envelope first. The letter was in Grandma Helen's distinctive handwriting, the same elegant script she'd used for recipes. "My dearest girl," it began. "If you're reading this, then I'm gone. And I suspect things have unfolded exactly as I feared they would. Sarah has always been my daughter, and I've loved her with every fiber of my being, but she has also been weak when it comes to Chloe. She sees in your sister everything she wished she'd been at that age: confident, social, unafraid to ask for what she wants. She has enabled Chloe's selfishness for so long that I doubt she even recognizes it anymore." My eyes filled with tears, but I kept reading. 6 months ago, Chloe came to me with a proposal. She wanted money to invest in Liam's business venture. She promised returns, showed projections. She was so convincing, so earnest, I almost believed her. Almost. But I've lived 8 decades on this earth, and I've seen enough schemes to recognize one when it's dressed up in PowerPoint slides and enthusiasm. I told her no. I told her the money I'd set aside was meant to be divided equally among my grandchildren after my death. I told her she needed to build her own life, not expect to inherit one. She didn't take it well. She stopped visiting for a month. Sarah called me in tears, begging me to reconsider, saying I was pushing Chloe away. So, I did something I'm not proud of. I lied. I told Chloe I'd changed my mind. I told her I'd make the transfers she wanted. I showed her bank statements with the withdrawals highlighted. What I didn't tell her was that every penny went into an offshore trust in your name, one she couldn't touch, couldn't contest, couldn't even know about until after my death and after the estate was settled. The account number is on the USB drive, along with videos I recorded every time Chloe visited during those final months. I wanted a record. I wanted proof of what she was really after. I'm leaving you this because you've always been the one who sought truth over comfort. You've always been willing to ask difficult questions and live with uncomfortable answers. The money in that trust is yours, free and clear. No strings attached. It's not a fortune, but it's enough to change your life if you're smart about it. $140,000. More importantly, the videos on that drive are evidence. Evidence of what Chloe really thought of me. Evidence of the lies she told. Evidence of the financial manipulation she attempted. I'll continue adding to these videos until I no longer can. The USB drive stays with my attorney, and he'll add it to this box after my death, ensuring everything is here when you need it. What you do with this information is entirely up to you. You can expose her. You can use it as leverage. You can simply take your money and walk away from all of them, building a life that doesn't include people who would treat you as less than you are. I won't judge any choice you make. I only ask that you remember this: you deserved better than what they gave you. You always have. The letter was signed simply Grandma Helen, with a lipstick kiss pressed below her name, the same dusty pink shade she'd worn every day of my childhood. I opened the jewelry box next. Inside was her engagement ring, the platinum band with 3 diamonds my grandfather had saved for a year to buy in 1965. A note card underneath read, "For when you find someone who sees all of you and loves all of you." Not before. The USB drive felt heavy in my hand, though it weighed less than an ounce. I drove home in a daze, stopping only to pick up a laptop charger because mine had mysteriously stopped working. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of timing. Back in my apartment, I plugged the drive into my laptop. 47 video files, each labeled with a date and timestamp. I started with the earliest, 10 months ago, 2 months before Grandma Helen's death. The video showed her living room, the camera positioned on a bookshelf pointing toward her favorite armchair. Chloe sat across from her on the sofa, leaning forward, hands clasped. The audio was crystal clear. "Grandma," Chloe was saying, "I need you to understand how important this is. Liam's been working on this for 3 years. We've got investors ready once we show initial capital. Your investment would give us credibility. It would change everything." Grandma Helen's voice, already thin with illness but still sharp. "And what happens if it fails? What happens to my investment then?" "It won't fail." Chloe's tone had an edge. "We've done all the research. Run all the numbers. This is a sure thing." "There's no such thing as a sure thing, sweetheart. There is if you believe in the people you're investing in." A pause. "Don't you believe in me?" That sentence landed like a slap. The emotional manipulation was so naked, so obvious, I felt embarrassed for my sister. Grandma Helen must have felt the same, because she simply said, "I think you should go home and think about what you're really asking me for." Chloe left without saying goodbye. I watched video after video. Each one showed a different conversation, a different approach, but the same underlying message. Chloe wanted money, and she believed she was entitled to it. In some, she was sweet and cajoling. In others, frustrated and sharp. In one, just 3 weeks before Grandma Helen's death, she was openly angry. "You're being selfish," Chloe hissed at the frail woman in the hospital bed. "You're sitting on all this money, and for what? You can't take it with you. You're going to die. And then what? It gets split up and taxed and divided, and nobody gets enough to actually do anything meaningful with it. But if you give it to me now, I can multiply it. I can turn it into something real." Grandma Helen's response was quiet but firm. "What you're describing isn't love, Chloe. It's greed, and I will not enable it." Chloe had stormed out. The video showed Grandma Helen lying back against her pillows, eyes closed, a single tear tracking down her cheek. She knew. She knew exactly who Chloe was, and it broke her heart. The final video was dated 1 week before her death. Grandma Helen was alone this time, speaking directly to the camera. "I hope whoever's watching this never has to use it. I hope Chloe grows up and realizes that money isn't love, and manipulation isn't family. But if she doesn't, if this becomes necessary, then know that I tried. I tried to teach her better. I tried to show her a different way. Some people aren't capable of learning those lessons. That's not your fault. It's not even entirely hers. It's just the sad truth of who she became." I closed my laptop and sat in silence for a long time. Outside, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across my living room floor. My phone buzzed with another text from Sarah. "We need to talk." "Call me." I didn't call. Instead, I made dinner, leftover turkey reheated with fresh herbs, and tried to process what I'd just witnessed. The videos revealed a version of Chloe I'd suspected existed, but never wanted to confirm. Growing up, she'd always been the charming one, talking her way out of trouble or into opportunities. My parents called it charisma. I called it manipulation, but only in the privacy of my own thoughts. There was the time in high school she convinced Sarah I'd borrowed her favorite sweater without asking, when she'd actually spilled wine on it at a party and needed someone to blame. I was grounded for 2 weeks. The truth came out months later, by accident, when one of her friends mentioned the party. Chloe laughed it off. My mother had said, "Well, it was a long time ago. Let's just move past it." That phrase, "let's just move past it," had become the family motto. Whenever Chloe's behavior caused problems, when she'd maxed out a credit card David gave her for emergencies on a shopping spree in Los Angeles, when she'd forgotten to pay back the $3,000 I'd lent her for wedding deposits, when she told our extended family I'd chosen not to attend her baby shower because I was jealous, when she'd never even sent me an invitation. Each incident, by itself, seemed petty to bring up. Collectively, they painted a portrait of someone who had learned early that consequences were optional if you were sufficiently charming about your transgressions. Watching those videos, I realized Grandma Helen had seen the same pattern. She'd just been braver about naming it. Saturday morning arrived with a barrage of texts from Sarah. They started gentle, "Sweetheart, I think there's been a misunderstanding." Then concerned, "David and I are worried about you. This isn't like you to shut us out." By noon, they had an edge. "Chloe is very upset. She says you've been acting strange. We need to discuss this as a family." As a family. The phrase made me laugh, a bitter sound in my quiet apartment. As a family meant Chloe would cry, Sarah would defend her, David would suggest we all calm down, and I would be expected to apologize for causing drama. The script was so familiar, I could have recited it from memory. I spent Saturday afternoon going through Grandma Helen's other papers. Letters I'd skimmed before, thinking they were routine correspondence. Reading them now, I saw references I'd missed. "I worry about Chloe's influence on your mother," she'd written to Uncle Robert 2 years ago. "She's always been susceptible to flattery, and Chloe knows exactly which buttons to push." Another letter, this one to Aunt Rachel, "I've decided to make some changes to my estate planning. I want to ensure that certain people are protected, even if that protection comes after I'm gone. You'll understand why when the time comes. Trust me, sister. Trust that I'm doing what's necessary." Grandma Helen had been planning this for years. The private trust, the videos, the careful documentation, none of it was impulsive. She'd watched Chloe's behavior escalate and had made calculated decisions to protect me from the fallout. The weight of that realization made my chest tight. She'd known she was dying, and had spent her remaining energy making sure I wouldn't be left defenseless. Sunday morning, I drove to the cemetery outside Boston where Grandma Helen was buried. Her grave was in the northeast corner under an oak tree. Someone had left fresh white roses, her favorite. I wondered if it was Aunt Rachel. I sat on the cold ground and talked to her, just like I used to when she was alive. Told her about the videos, about the trust fund, about the Thanksgiving I'd spent alone rather than subject myself to more lies. "You were right," I said to the granite marker. "About all of it. I just wish you'd been wrong." The wind picked up, sending leaves skittering across the grass. In the distance, another family gathered, heads bowed in collective grief. I envied them that togetherness, even in sadness. My own family's grief had splintered us into factions, those who believed Chloe's version of events, and those who started asking uncomfortable questions. By Sunday evening, I'd made my decision about attorneys. I needed professional guidance, not just for potential legal action, but to understand my options. The trust fund alone raised questions about tax implications. The videos were evidence, but I needed an expert to tell me evidence of what, exactly, and whether pursuing any claims was worth the inevitable explosion. The following week, I consulted 3 different attorneys. The first 2 were sympathetic but cautious, warning me about the potential fallout. The third, a sharp-eyed woman named Maria Sanchez, who built her reputation on high-stakes estate litigation, looked at the documents and videos with growing interest. "This is substantial," she said, tapping her pen. "Your grandmother was remarkably thorough. These videos alone would be enough to challenge any claims Chloe might make on the estate. Combined with the financial records and her own letter? You have an airtight case." "A case for what?" I asked. "The estate's already been settled." Maria smiled. "The estate?" "Yes. But there's the matter of fraud. If Chloe misrepresented her relationship with your grandmother to gain access to funds or property, that's actionable. Your grandmother's estate included her house and several other assets that Chloe received. If those assets were distributed based on false pretenses, based on Chloe claiming she had a close, caring relationship when these videos prove she was attempting financial exploitation, then there are grounds to challenge how those specific items were distributed. We're not talking about reopening the entire estate. We're talking About specific assets obtained through deception. She leaned back. The question isn't whether you have a case. The question is what you want to do with it. What did I want? Revenge felt too simple, too crude. Justice felt closer, but still not quite right. Mostly, I wanted the truth to matter. I wanted the lies to have consequences. I wanted Grandma Helen's final wishes honored, not trampled over by the golden child who'd spent her last months treating her like a personal ATM. I want to proceed, I said. But not yet. I have something I need to do first. Monday morning, I returned to work with a clarity I hadn't felt in months. My colleagues noticed immediately. Emily, who sat next to me, commented during our coffee break. "You seem different," she said. "Good different. Like you finally got a full night's sleep or something." "Something like that," I replied, stirring cream into my coffee. I didn't elaborate. How could I explain that discovering my family's betrayal, documented in high-definition video, had somehow been liberating? That knowing the worst had already happened meant there was nothing left to fear? Work had always been my refuge. I was good at my job, financial analysis for a consulting firm, and my competence felt like proof that I wasn't the problem child Chloe made me out to be. Numbers didn't lie. Spreadsheets didn't gaslight you. Quarterly reports didn't rewrite history. That week, I threw myself into a project I'd been putting off, a comprehensive analysis of investment portfolios for a client restructuring their estate planning. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was helping a stranger protect their assets while simultaneously uncovering how my own grandmother had protected mine. The parallels made me better at the work. I understood viscerally now why someone would go to such lengths to ensure their wishes were honored after death. Emily caught me working late on Wednesday evening. Most of the office had cleared out by 6, but I was still at my desk. She knocked on my cubicle wall. "Sorry," she said. "Didn't mean to startle you. Just wanted to make sure you were okay. You've been here until 8 or 9 every night." I saved my work. Just focused. Got a lot on my mind. She leaned against the divider. "Family stuff?" I must have looked surprised. She laughed. "You're not as mysterious as you think. I heard you on the phone with Sarah last week." "Well, heard your side of it anyway." Sounded tense. "It's complicated," I said, the default phrase for family dysfunction that couldn't be easily explained. "They always are." Emily pulled up a chair. "Look, I don't want to overstep, but my family went through something similar a few years ago. Estate drama, siblings fighting, lies coming out. It was ugly. Really ugly. And the thing I learned was that sometimes the healthiest choice is to step back and let them sort out their own mess without you in the middle of it. What if stepping back means they win?" The question came out before I could stop it, revealing more than I'd intended. Emily considered this. "Win what, though? If the prize is a family that functions on lies and manipulation, is that really winning? Or is it just continuing to lose in a familiar way?" Her words stayed with me long after she'd left for the night. I sat in my quiet cubicle, the office dark, and thought about what winning actually meant. Was it exposing Chloe? Was it getting Sarah to admit she'd chosen wrong? Was it an apology that acknowledged the hurt instead of just trying to smooth things over? Or was it simply refusing to participate in a system that required me to diminish myself for everyone else's comfort? Liam's phone had indeed captured the video, and Aunt Rachel was right. He'd saved it. Getting a copy required nothing more than a text explaining I wanted to see what I'd missed at Thanksgiving. He sent it within 10 minutes, probably not realizing what he was handing over. The video was everything Rachel had described. 3 minutes long, but those 3 minutes contained everything I needed. Chloe, wine-flushed and grinning, telling the entire table how she'd save Thanksgiving by convincing Sarah to exclude me. She's been such a killjoy since Grandma Helen died, she slurred, always bringing up the will, always asking about the money. Like, sorry you didn't get as much as you thought you deserved, but maybe if you'd actually spent time with her instead of just showing up for the reading of the will, you would have been in a better position. The lie was breathtaking. I visited Grandma Helen twice a week for the entire last year of her life. I'd taken her to appointments, filled prescriptions, sat with her during chemotherapy while Chloe was mysteriously always busy. The audacity of rewriting history so completely, so confidently, in front of 15 people who apparently believed every word? It was almost impressive in its shamelessness. The video showed Sarah's face in the background. Uncomfortable, but silent. David eventually stood up and left the table, but the damage was done. Aunt Carol was nodding along. Cousin Ashley was laughing. They all believed Chloe's version because she told it with such conviction. I saved the video to 3 different places. Then I started planning. Planning felt productive in a way that stewing in anger never had. I created spreadsheets. Of course, I did. I was Grandma Helen's granddaughter. Tracking every family gathering for the past 5 years, who was invited, who attended, who was mysteriously excluded or told at the last minute. The pattern was damning. Nearly every gathering in the past 3 years included some version of me being sidelined, forgotten, or deliberately misled. The Christmas party 2 years ago, everyone exchanged gifts, but no one told me. I'd shown up empty-handed, feeling like an idiot, while Chloe made a show of saying, "It's okay. We know you're busy with work." The implication, I cared more about my career than my family. The 4th of July barbecue, the time changed from 3 p.m. to noon, and I was the only one not informed. I'd arrived to find everyone eating, the best food gone, Chloe explaining to her friends that I never could get the details right. David's birthday dinner, I was told it was casual and arrived in jeans to find everyone in cocktail attire. Chloe in a designer dress, holding court about how she always made an effort for family events. Individually, these could have been mistakes. Collectively, they were a campaign. A systematic effort to make me feel like an outsider in my own family, orchestrated by my sister, and enabled by Sarah's refusal to acknowledge what was happening. I showed the spreadsheet to Maria Sanchez during our second meeting. She studied it for a long moment, her expression unreadable. Then she looked up. "This is a pattern of exclusion," she said. Deliberate, repeated, documented. Combined with everything else, the videos, the financial manipulation, the lies about Thanksgiving, you're building a narrative that goes beyond just estate disputes. This is about systematic emotional mistreatment within a family structure. The phrase emotional mistreatment landed like a punch. I'd never used those words before, never let myself frame it that way. Families had conflicts. Siblings had rivalries. That was normal. But what Maria was describing wasn't normal. It was pathological. "I need to think about this," I said. Maria nodded. "Take your time. But understand that the longer you wait, the more they'll have time to craft their own narrative. Your sister is already telling people you're unstable, that you're making things up, that you've always been jealous of her. I've seen it before. The person who speaks up about dysfunction gets labeled as the problem. And by the time the truth comes out, everyone's already chosen sides." I left her office feeling simultaneously validated and exhausted. The weight of knowing, really knowing, what had been done to me was heavier than the uncertainty had been. At least with uncertainty, I could still hope I was wrong. Now I had evidence. Now I had proof. Now I had to decide what to do with it. December crept closer. Sarah's texts became more frequent, more insistent. She wanted to clear the air before the holidays, to make sure we were all on the same page. What she really wanted was for me to show up and act like nothing had happened so everyone else could feel comfortable. I didn't respond to most messages. When I did, my replies were brief and non-committal. "I'll let you know. Still thinking about it. We'll see." Each vague response bought me more time. Aunt Rachel called one evening. "Your mother is panicking," she said without preamble. "She knows something's wrong, but she doesn't know what. Chloe told her you've been acting paranoid and suggested maybe you need therapy." I laughed, though there was no humor in it. "Of course she did. She's scared," Rachel continued. "Chloe, I mean. She knows you have those videos. She doesn't know what else you might have, but she knows it's enough to damage her. Liam let it slip to his brother that they might need a lawyer. His brother told me. The family grapevine is working overtime." "Good," I said. "Let them worry. Let them wonder what I'm going to do. They've spent years making me feel uncertain and off balance. They can have a taste of it." Rachel was quiet for a moment. "You sound different. Harder." "No," I corrected. "I sound done. There's a difference." She sighed. "I support you. Whatever you decide, I support you. But be prepared for the fallout. Your mother is going to choose Chloe. She always has. Your father might surprise you, but he might not. Some cousins will take sides. Others will try to stay neutral and end up making everyone angry. It's going to get messy." "It's already messy," I said. "At least now it'll be honest mess instead of the polite fiction we've been maintaining." The family always gathered at my parents' house the second Sunday in December to decorate for Christmas. It was a tradition going back generations, complete with homemade cookies, hot chocolate, and enough holiday music to make even the Grinch warble. Everyone would be there. Everyone. I RSVP'd with a simple, "I'll be there," and nothing more. Sarah called twice to make sure, to clear up any misunderstandings about Thanksgiving. I let both calls go to voicemail. December 8th dawned, clear and cold. I arrived at my parents' house at 2 in the afternoon, a box of decorations in my arms, my laptop bag slung over my shoulder. Chloe was already there, perched on the sofa with a glass of wine, holding court about their planned vacation to the Maldives. "There she is!" Sarah exclaimed with forced cheer. "We missed you on Thanksgiving. How are you feeling?" "All better." The concern was performative, meant for the audience of cousins, aunts, and uncles. I smiled. "I felt fine on Thanksgiving, actually. Cooked a lovely meal for myself. Very peaceful." The room went quiet. Chloe's expression flickered, confusion, then calculation. Sarah's smile froze. "But you texted me that you had food poisoning," Sarah said carefully. "No," I replied, setting down the decorations. "I didn't text you at all. You told me dinner was immediate family only." Then Chloe posted a photo of 15 place settings, so I stayed home. Chloe stood up. "You're being dramatic. Mom said you were sick. Don't try to make this into something it's not." I pulled up my phone, opened Instagram, and pulled up Chloe's post. 15 place settings. That's not immediate family. That's a deliberate exclusion disguised as intimacy. You lied to me, Sarah. And you knew. David, who'd been silent, finally spoke. "What's done is done. Let's move forward." "I would love to move forward," I said. "But first, I think everyone should know the truth about Grandma Helen's final months." I connected my laptop to their TV, the same one we'd watched 1,000 movies on, and pulled up the first video. For the next 45 minutes, that living room was silent except for Grandma Helen's voice and Chloe's increasingly desperate attempts to extract money from a dying woman. People cried. Aunt Carol left halfway through. Cousin Ashley stared at the screen like she was watching a horror movie. And Chloe? Chloe sat frozen on that sofa, her wine glass dangling, watching her own manipulation play out in high definition. When the last video finished, the one where Grandma Helen spoke directly to the camera about greed, love, and broken hearts, I turned off the TV and faced the room. Grandma Helen left me a trust fund, I said. Money that Chloe thought she'd successfully stolen. Money that our grandmother deliberately moved to protect it from exactly the kind of person Chloe became. She also left me these videos, a letter, and instructions to do with them what I thought was right. Liam tried to speak. I held up my hand. I've consulted with attorneys. What Chloe did, the lies, the manipulation, the attempted financial exploitation of a dying woman, that's actionable. I can file charges. I can challenge the estate settlement. I can make all of this very public and very legal. Sarah found her voice. You wouldn't. She's your sister. She excluded me from Thanksgiving and then lied about why. She spent months trying to steal from Grandma Helen. She has shown me repeatedly that her being my sister means nothing when it's inconvenient for her. I looked at Chloe directly. So, no, Sarah. I'm not protecting her anymore. Chloe's face had gone pale. What do you want? I want the truth to matter. I want Grandma Helen's wishes honored. And I want all of you to understand exactly who you chose to believe over me. I picked up my coat. I'm not filing charges. I'm not challenging the settlement. But I am done. Done with the lies. Done with the manipulation. Done with being treated like I'm the problem for noticing that I'm being mistreated. You can have your perfect family dinners without me. You've clearly been practicing. I walked out before anyone could respond. My phone started ringing before I even reached my car. Sarah, David, Aunt Rachel, Ashley. I silenced it and drove home. 3 days later, an envelope arrived. Inside, a check for $50,000 and a note in Sarah's handwriting. This is from the proceeds of Grandma Helen's house sale. Chloe received the house and sold it for $320,000. This is your share of what you should have gotten. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The math made sense now. The house should have been split, or at least considered in the overall distribution. Instead, Chloe had gotten it outright, then sold it and kept the money. Sarah was trying to make it right, or at least ease her own guilt. Too little, too late, but I deposited the check anyway. Chloe and Liam's business venture collapsed 6 months later. Something about mismanaged funds and broken investor promises. They had to sell their house and move into a rental. The Maldives trip never happened. Sarah calls once a week now. We have coffee sometimes, strained conversations where she tries to apologize and I try to figure out if forgiveness is possible or even desirable. David and I are working on it slowly, with a family therapist who makes us both uncomfortable in productive ways. Chloe sent me an email 8 months after that Christmas decoration afternoon. It was long, rambling, full of justifications and explanations, with a half-hearted apology buried in the 7th paragraph. I never responded. Some bridges aren't meant to be rebuilt. Aunt Rachel and I have dinner once a month now. She told me Grandma Helen had confided in her about the trust fund years before she died, making Rachel promise to make sure I knew where to look if things went wrong. She knew, Rachel said over pasta one evening. She knew exactly how it would all play out. She just hoped she was wrong. I wear Grandma Helen's engagement ring on my right hand. Not because I'm waiting for someone to propose, but because I want to remember every day that I deserve better than what I was given. That truth matters. That standing up for yourself isn't selfish. It's survival. Last Thanksgiving, I hosted dinner at my apartment. Aunt Rachel came, David came, a few cousins who'd reached out after that December afternoon came. We set up a table for 8, cooked too much food, and told stories about Grandma Helen that made us laugh until we cried. Sarah asked if she could come. I told her, maybe next year. She understood. Chloe didn't ask. I don't know if she ever will, but on Thanksgiving morning, a card arrived at my door with no return address. Inside, in Chloe's handwriting, "I'm sorry. I don't know how to fix this." I put the card in a drawer. Maybe someday I'll know what to do with it. Maybe someday I'll feel ready to have that conversation. But for now, I'm content with my small circle of people who chose me, who showed up, who understood that family is supposed to mean something more than obligation and manipulation. The trust fund from Grandma Helen, combined with Sarah's check and my own savings, allowed me to put a down payment on a small house just outside the city with a backyard perfect for summer dinners. It took me 6 months to find the right place, another 2 months to close, and I've spent this past spring settling in. I'm building a life that doesn't include people who would lie to my face and expect me to smile through it. And every time someone asks about my family, I tell them the truth. It's complicated, but I'm working on surrounding myself with people who think I'm worth being honest with. That's all any of us can really ask for. The voicemail from Aunt Rachel is still saved on my phone. Sometimes when I doubt myself or wonder if I overreacted, I listen to it again. That whispered message, delivered at 1:13 in the morning from a bathroom in my parents' house, was the moment everything changed. The moment I realized that the truth I'd been suspecting for months was real, was documented, was undeniable. My hands shook when I first heard it. They don't shake anymore when I think about what happened. That's how I know I made the right choice. The truth set me free. Even though that freedom came at a price, some prices are worth paying. This one was. But I still wonder, what would you have done if you found out your entire family had been living a lie?